Oh, hello again. Sorry for the lateness again. And it's sort of what I'm known for now. So we're going to go for, this has been my weekly football roundup. So I'm going to go through all the big money signings in the Premier League teams and give a big yay or nay to each and every single one. So just a nice review of all the big signings, having had sort of a good few games into the season now. Are they bedding in? Are they not? Are they just injured? There we go. Cool. So, alphabetical order as always. Arsenal, the big money signing was Calafiori for 45 million. He's taken a bit of time to get into the team, as I think Arteta's preferred to have Urian Timber playing at left back, and Ben White's very difficult to move at right back, considering he probably was one of the best right backs in the league last season. He did manage to get his time into in the City game and looked very assured. That was a heck of a goal against City. Looks comfortable, assured on the ball, can bring the ball forward really comfortably, and gives Arsenal another option on the left. So I think it's a big yay for me. I don't think it's a massive overspend. It's something that like Man United used to do under Alex Ferguson. Is they always used to strengthen in some of the positions that they're already strong, and Arsenal already have a good defence. It's just better now because there's the depth. You can rest the Gabriels, you can rest the Salivas, knowing you've got the Timbers, the Kiviors, the Calafioris to sort of come in and offer that cover. Next we have Onana at Aston Villa for 59.35 million. He's come in obviously to replace Douglas Luiz, who shifted off to Juventus. I'll be honest, by the looks of it, he looks like an upgrade. He's not got the technical ability of that Douglas Luiz has, but what he has is that strong physical presence. He's a big, sort of strong, sort of reliable enough sort of technical player who's managed to pop up with several sort of key goals in the Champions League from set pieces and looks very assured. And it just adds sort of something else into that midfield, which Emery as a quality manager can use. So this is a big hit for me. Next we've got Bournemouth. We've got Evan Nielsen, who was signed to replace Dominic Solanke, 37 million. He's like Porto's main striker last season, banging goals in the Liga NOS. Missed his penalty against Chelsea. This is a bit. It's a bit of a nay from me, partly because of the fee. He had an easy opportunity to score a goal from the penalty spot. I mean, people would say how there's sort of the busy work in his sort of debut game against Newcastle, but busy work's sort of nice. But as a striker, at the end of the day, you're paid to put the ball in the back of the net, and he's not. I mean, Bournemouth thankfully have options elsewhere throughout the squad to get the goals, but he's not one of them. Brentford, Igor Thiago. I might have to leave this one. He's been injured. I can't really speculate on that. I suppose I could then sort of go to his next sort of step down, sort of Fabio Carvalho, who's had a slow integration into the Brentford team and is starting to look really sort of comfortable and sort of good. Sort of Brentford seem to normally struggle with these sort of signings to get into their first 11, as it were. A lot of their team hasn't changed that much since being promoted, and they rely on sort of the good old sort of steady heads of sort of people like Ethan Pinnock, as well as sort of the reliable sort of people like Jensen in the middle of the field and Norgard. It's not necessarily inspiring, but it works. Carvalho is something different. He's a good, strong technical player. So got an assist. It's a big yay from me. Next we have Brighton. We have Georgina Rutter for Brighton from Leeds. That was 46.7 million. He was a big player for Leeds last season. Obviously didn't actually get promoted, so the team itself did get gutted a little bit. He's looked very good. He's looked quite comfortable. He's sort of taken a few goals here and there. Brighton, the thing with Brighton now is that there is a lot of depth in that front line with some of the players like Minter, I'm trying to remember some of the names of the other wingers. Yes, Matoma, something. Matoma sort of on the left, and sort of the very reliable sort of Danny Welbeck up front. He's obviously trying to work his way in, sort of trying to compete with João Pedro. It's also done very well. He's getting minutes here and there. I think he's done well for the minutes he's got. I think the way Brighton play, he'll get goals, he'll get assists. With that money, my only worry is that he should really be one of the first names on the team sheet for that kind of money. If you're a team like Brighton, you've spent nearly 50 million on someone, you should be starting for them. You should be doing the business for them. Cool, so going to a slightly more expensive signing next. For Chelsea, you've got Pedro Neto at 60 million. This, in my opinion, is a massive flop. Massive flop. He's not currently in the starting 11. It's a position they didn't need to buy for. He's an injury-prone player. If he's someone that's not injury-prone, you sort of think, well, I can see that because when he plays, he has quality. But he's injury-prone, and he's probably, realistically, the 5th or 6th choice in that Chelsea team. Does he get into the first 11? No. Does he get into Chelsea's second 11? Maybe. And you're paying 60 million for him. That's your big money signing. That's not good enough. That's pretty naff. Absolutely. I'll never understand how Chelsea operate as a club sometimes. But there we have it. Crystal Palace, Eddie Nketiah, 29.7 million. This is a big hit as far as I'm concerned. I think he's a quality striker, Premier League proven. If he gets service, he'll get goals. He's an absolute sort of fox in the box. He can get his shots off very quickly, very easily. And I think in a fun, free-flowing, attacking team, which is what Crystal Palace are, be very good. And when looking at some of the previous strikers that we've mentioned, people like Evan Nilsson and Thiago, these are teams that are spending 8-9 million more on strikers that aren't proven in the Premier League. Crystal Palace went and bought someone who is proven in the Premier League for less money. That's smart business as far as I'm concerned. Cool. Everton, you have Joey O'Brien bought in from Lyon for 19.5 million. This is a big dud. This is not a big one. This is not a good one for me. He might be good, he might not be, but the issue is if you're not getting sort of Michael Keane's spot in the team, considering how naff he has been, how naff Everton have been at the back defensively, I would worry. I'm concerned. I don't know whether it's a case of not being trusted by the manager or not. I mean, the size of him, he sort of seems like a perfect sort of Dyche player, but if you're not getting into the team, and it's not a case of injuries being an issue with him, he's been available the whole time, and you've chosen not to play him, and you're struggling defensively. That's not a good sign, so it's going to be a flop from me. Cool. Next we have Fulham. We have Emile Smith-Rowe for 31.8 million. This is a big hit as far as I'm concerned. Everything good I've seen from Fulham this season flows through him. The only issues there's been with him ever has been his injury record, and he's not been injured, so he's looked amazing. Everything just goes through him. He's sort of obviously got the partnership with several other ex-Arsenal players there, like Iwobi and sort of Reece Nelson on the other side, and he just looks so, it's everything sort of good. I've seen other football YouTubers that support Fulham saying how he could be one of their best signings of sort of modern history, and time will tell on that, but at the moment he looks absolutely amazing. Ipswich got Murray Hutchinson, was bought in for 23.5 million. A big money sort of signing. Obviously did very well for us in the Championship last year. Is yet to get off the mark. I've seen him sort of playing a little bit. He's still got good touches. He can carry the ball very well. However, he's sort of the sort of attacking players need to step up. There need to be goals. There needs to be sort of defining moments where you're winning games. You're taking your chances. He's had chances. He hasn't quite taken them. Maybe it's harsh because he's a kid. But I would want to see more end product from him. Obviously still a youngster, so I might come back to eat those words, but it's going to be a bit of an A from me. And it's an A for him, who was absolutely amazing for us in the Championship. It's a big nay for Oliver Skipp for Leicester, 23.5, exactly the same fee. He's bog standard. He's boring. Supposed to do the simple things right. I don't know if you should really be spending that much money on that sort of that class of midfielder coming in to sort of replace Dewsbury Hall. He's not anywhere near as sort of dynamic, being able to drive the ball forward in the same way that Dewsbury Hall did to get his team up the pitch. That's part of what made him so good for Leicester last year. Skipp doesn't do that. I think they've reshuffled their midfield to get Ndidi to play as their creative sort of number 10, being able to get the ball forward. This is a skip. It's not fun or imaginative, and for that fee, it's just, I don't know. It's a bit dull. Not maybe it's, I don't know. Liverpool, so their big money signing would have been Mamardashvili, the Georgian goalkeeper from Valencia, for 30 million. However, he's been loaned back to Valencia with the idea of him possibly competing with Alisson next season. So I can't really judge him too much at the moment. Who I can potentially judge is the next signing down, which is Federico Chiesa, who I believe very much was a big signing. He looked a couple of years ago in the Italy national team and for Juventus. He looked amazing. However, his injury record, his injuries have just sort of caught up with him a little bit, which is rather unfortunate because there was definitely technical ability there. He, however, has got the slight issue of sort of one of the world's most informed right wingers and Salah ahead of him to try and get in. Maybe potentially his use obviously comes as being a squad option. I've not seen quite enough yet. I mean, you've got such deep competition there with the Jota, Nunez and Diaz up front. And Chiesa's not looked quite at that level yet. Maybe it's a fitness thing, but it's a bit of a no. It's going to be a no from me, even with the fee being as it is. And you've got City of Savinho for 25 million. He's looked brilliant. He's looked like a strong out-and-out winger. He's got a great first touch, sort of a Mahrez-esque in some respects. Sort of has contributed sort of a couple of assists here and there. £25 million fee, I think, is very good. Obviously, sort of within the City group, so you'd argue that this player probably is worth a bit more than that. But, you know, sort of it being within the group, within the family, as it were, the deal managed to get done nice and cheaply. Next, we have United, and their big money signing was Lenny Euro. However, he's not managed to get any minutes, so it's kind of hard to judge. He's expected to be back at some point, sort of in the future. Obviously, they brought in De Ligt afterwards to actually have that sort of space sort of covered. So I could sort of then look at, I suppose the next signing would then be Agate, but then he's also not had many minutes, so I don't know if there's fair to judge there. I mean, the one United signing that I'd say has had sort of some decent minutes is Matthias de Ligt, who I think's looked reliable enough, looked solid enough. I mean, it improves the defence. Generally speaking, United's defence has gotten better as they're not conceding as many shots as they were in the previous season. However, there's clearly something wrong there, and to be honest, I'd be harsh if I blamed the player, because if it's continuously sort of happening, those sort of numbers of shots given away, the ease teams can get through that United midfield, it's not a player issue, it's a structural issue. So I'd be looking elsewhere to find the problems at United, but I can't really rate anyone for United for that respect. Next, we're going to have Lewis Hall for 30 million. Obviously, he was on loan last season. It was an obligation to buy, so obviously that was sort of triggered, and they managed to buy him. And Lewis Hall has become Newcastle's sort of main starting left back at the moment. In Newcastle, reading any comments from any Newcastle fans, although he's good and young, he's sort of very strong going forward, but is not reliable enough at the back for that fee as well. He'd be potentially better suited as a left wing back, or sort of further up in the field where you've got sort of defensive cover behind. But for that fee, I suppose you could argue it's the English tax of it, but I'd be expecting a bit more. I think the Newcastle fans have been as well. There's not quite right on that left-hand side at the moment, so I think they still have to work that one out. Next, we've got Nottingham Forest, who did get signing from Newcastle, Elliot Anderson for 41.2 million. Sort of one of their young, exciting midfielders. Everyone I've seen absolutely rants and raves about him for his amazing first touch and ability on the ball. Although Nottingham Forest have done really well, I don't know whether that's down to him. I not convinced by him, particularly for that fee. I still think he was an unproven risk of Forest. It's not. It's going to be a nay from me because it's just that's so excessive. I just don't see it. And he's not like it's not English tax. Maybe I believe he's Scottish if I'm not mistaken. So I might be wrong on that one. So I don't quite understand the market value there. So it's a bit of a miss from me. Southampton have permanently completed the signing of Harwood Bellis for 23 million. He's looked fairly solid. I think Southampton have been in sort of some of their games quite sort of well. However, they've unfortunately been found out from their playing out from the back, trying that heavy possession sort of football they did in the Championship has not been working in the Premier League as of yet. However, he's young, he's English, and I don't think I could put blame on any of the goals at his feet. I think that was a smart signing, and I think he's not looked out of place in the Premier League, and he's a young English player, so I think I'm good with that. I'm happy with that. I like that. Dominic Solanke was a few pennies more, 64.3 million. He's only just got his goal against United. All the Spurs fans that I've sort of spoken to or listened to sort of saying how he is sort of working very hard off the ball and just hasn't quite fallen for him. However, sort of with the Ange Postecoglou system, with sort of the service from Son, from Brennan Johnson, from Werner, Kulusevski, all of those, you're expecting a lot of goals. Now, I think he might have just adapted to the system now. However, I think he is an improvement on Richarlison. However, I think that fee for some of the strikers that have been bought, that have banged, it's a bit naff for me. I don't think for that money, and I don't know whether he's going to get all the goals. I mean, he might do because Spurs have to rely on him because of the alternatives available to them, but I think it's a bit of a nay from me. Next, we've got Max Kilman. It was 47.5 million. Now, he's sort of a steady, reliable person within the Premier League and several seasons at Wolves. Should be sort of comfortable on the ball, having played sort of futsal previously, sort of joining actual football later on in his career. However, West Ham themselves as a unit have not looked flat to deceive a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of... I would have said for sort of the video, the start of the season, who's at the best transfer window, and I would have said West Ham. They have brought so many sort of fun, exciting players, and I just don't think Lopetegui knows how to get the best out of them by the looks of it. Somerville was one of the best players in the Championship last year, and barely anything. Fulkrug, sort of a striker that was sort of doing the business in the Champions League final. You can't get rid of, can't displace Antonio. They needed to replace him. They've been trying for years, and it just doesn't work. They've just not quite gotten that. I mean, I think Wan-Bissaka, I think, has been one of their more sensible signings, but Kilman being the big money one, it's a no from me. Next we have Wolves, who've got Andre sort of playing in the midfield. Sort of he's a Brazilian CDM, sort of brought in from Fluminense. He is sort of floating around the Brazilian setup. Every time I've seen him, he's looked very good on the ball. He looked quite comfortable. He's young, he's Brazilian, and I think although Wolves haven't necessarily done that well this season, I think he's looked good. It doesn't look out of place. He looks up for it. And I think because of the calibre and the ability that he's at, I don't necessarily think he'll be at Wolves for a long period of time. So I think they could potentially just flip it and make money again. So it's a yay from me, because the fee in itself, in comparison to the other fees here, is peanuts for Premier League clubs these days. So yeah, I'm going to have that one as a yay. But what do you think out of the big money signings? Which ones do you think have been the best? Which ones do you think have been the worst? Which ones do you think maybe just need a bit more time? As for that, I'll see you later. Bye for now.